Everything behind me keeps getting more and more empty. Maybe that's fitting because we're coming to the end. This is my last Kevin show before the end of 2025 as we go into a whole new year. 2026, man. Who knows what's coming? Kara and I have not yet landed on a plan. I mean, we keep kind of landing on plans and then things just suddenly change. We've got a whole new perspective on what we're going to do now. Sometimes your plans change because you realize that you were cutting the ends off the roast. Do you know that story? So I first heard this when I was a kid, man, in church. I had a preacher who said, told the story about how, preachers lie, by the way. Not a disparagement, but they'll take a joke or they'll take a story and they frame it as if it happened to them. Oh, sorry about that. They'll frame it as if it happened to them. And so I legitimately thought that this was an experience he had. And then years later, I kept hearing the same story from other sources. But I had a preacher who, he said that when he was a kid, his grandmother always cooked a roast and she would cut the ends off of it, each end off of it, put it in a pan, put it in the oven and cook the roast. So, and then she would cook the ends, separately. And so when he was an adult, when he cooked a roast, he would cut the ends off the roast, put it in a pan, put it in there, cook the ends separately. And someone finally asked him, why do you do that? Why not just, leave it in the pan and cook it? He's like, it's just the way you cook a roast. I never thought about it. I'll have to find out, this is how my grandmother taught me to cook a roast. And so he went to his grandmother. He says, Grandma, whenever you cooked a roast when I was a kid, you would cut the ends off of it. And I do that too, but I don't know why I do it. Why do we cut the ends off of a roast before we cook it? And she gave him a weird look and kind of laughed and said, well, because that was the size pan I had. I didn't have a pan big enough for a full-size roast, so I'd cut the ends off so that it would fit in the pan. And then I'd cook the rest of the roast separate. So he learned that behavior from his grandmother and he replicated it because that's just the way it was always done and never questioned it. I think we do that a lot in our lives. So to swing it back around, I think that Kara and I will do that sometimes in a way because we'll have a plan and we'll make plans based on the circumstances we're currently in. So we made plans about what to do once we downsized the house, which is still in progress. It takes a while, okay? We've got a lot of stuff, but we're also kind of, we're working on a kind of a schedule here where we're going to put it up for sale at a specific time. So there's a little bit of that. But we were making plans about where to go next based on what we knew, the circumstances of our lives in that moment. And then we took a little road trip to see my mom. And on that road trip, we had a conversation that led to the realization that we have more options than we thought. And here we were thinking in one specific direction. We have to do this because this is where we are. This is what we got. And then we realized, oh, well, that's all predicated on this other thing that may or may not even happen, or this other thing that isn't definitely not going to happen, or this other thing that could happen but doesn't have to happen. And so we were making plans based on a whole list of things that might not necessarily have applied. Once we realized that, we started to look at it from a different angle, and suddenly we realized we don't have to do it that way. We don't have to cut the ends off the roast. We can just get a bigger pan. So, and I'm sorry, I keep itching my nose. My nose is itchy. Allergies, I think. I'll try to avoid that. So now that we've had that realization, we've got a new plan. And there's the danger of potentially falling into the trap again and saying, oh, well, we've got this plan now. It has to be this way. We have to do these things. And to some extent, you do want to do that. You do want to settle on an idea, settle on a plan, and hopefully settle on the one that benefits you and blesses you most, maybe benefits and blesses others at the same time. That's always a good way to go. And Kara definitely wants that. She definitely needs that stability. I, on the other hand, have always been a little more flexible about planning. I don't like rigid plans. I don't like being locked in on things. I think this is why I'm not good at outlining my books. I want the flexibility to change my mind. And so it's much more fun for me, much better for me, if I can go into a plan with all my options still available. Sometimes that's not possible, but most of the time it is. But with Kara, usually not. We usually have to settle on something and say we're doing this, and I completely understand that. I understand that for her sanity. My compromise is to once we land on a plan, to more or less be committed to that idea. So anyway, that's the kind of thing that's on my mind right now as we come to the end of 2025. This will be probably the first official Kevin Show video for 2026. I'm probably going to go ahead and just set it up to go out on either the Friday following the new year. But I don't know. It's got me thinking about all this stuff. I love that we had the realization that we don't have to cut the ends off the roast. We have a whole bigger pan we can use and rely on. So, something else I wanted to talk about because this will be a short one, and I need to write the companion piece, which I will do. So make sure you look in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, look in the description. There will be a link to the companion piece I've written on Substack. But at one point during the year, Kara gave me this owl. And I had put on Substack that I wanted to name him. And I had some really good suggestions, and I had a conversation with somebody that kind of landed on, I'm going to call him X. I don't want to say what it was. And I was committed to that until I got the opportunity to meet my very good new friend, Orson Scott Card. And I say very good new friend. We've had a handful of conversations, but you have to understand, I have been a fan of Scott's for all my adult life for sure, all the way back to like 9th grade. He's about 20 years older than me, but I tuned into him at the beginning of his career and have followed him throughout. And now we are friends. And so I have decided that my owl's name is Orson the Owl. So if you were holding your breath waiting for me to finally announce the name of my little friend here, that's what it is. Orson. His name is officially, this is a nod to the person who reached out to me, but Orson Orwell the Owl. So anyway, listen, I hope you had a great 2025. There were some rough patches. I lost a brother this year. We've lost other souls this year. There's been tragedy, but there's also been a lot of blessing. And I just did an entire episode about this on the Wordslinger podcast, but one thing I want people to remember and realize as we go into 2026, as we go into every day of our lives, is that the concept of joy, the concept of being happy, it's not a destination. It's not a place you get to and then you get to live there. It is always and always a journey, a continual process And realistically, it is always a continual choice that we make. So I am going to spend my 2026 working hard to make that choice every day, every minute of every day, regardless of the sadness that may come from time to time, the pain and trouble that may come from time to time. Now, for me, this is very scriptural. As a Christian, Christ said, in this life you will have trouble. That's a definite. You will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. And that is a guidepost for me, and I hope it is for you as well. I choose continually to look for joy. That's what I want to do anyway. And when I fail at it, it's okay. It's okay to fail at not being good at looking for joy, even in the midst of pain. It's okay because you can come back and try again. So don't be hard on yourself. I always am. I'm always very hard on myself for not doing well. Just choose again. Start over. There's nothing wrong with starting over in every moment. So I hope you have the most amazing 2026. I hope that every moment of this year is filled with joy for you. And God bless you. I am really grateful for you being here. Make sure you check out the Substack post. If you haven't already, subscribe to me here on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, share, make a comment. That does help. Tell me what your plans are for 2026. But make sure you share this with others. Help me grow this channel. And make sure you check out the Substack that is tied to it at kevintumlinson.substack.com. God bless you. Happy New Year. And I'll see you next time.